Let's get straight to it. Senator Risa, did you see the shakeup coming, and were you surprised by the speed at which it happened?
I wasn't surprised by the speed. Actually, I think effective and beneficial transitions in the Senate have always happened, not over a protracted period, but in a reasonably short time, so that there's a little bit less pain and there's more continuity in the work of the Senate and what it contributes to the nation's development. I wasn't caught by surprise by the process because since we always say in the Senate, deliberative body kami, this was also a deliberative process. For those of us who were finally enough in number and confident and hopeful sa aming pakiramdam to effect this transition in the leadership and to elect now Senate President Tito Soto as our SP.
Yeah, it was nicely, cleanly done, fast, with continuity. You voted for Senate President Tito Soto. Why support him? And why was this change needed?
Well, this change was needed in order to consolidate the good work that had already been done by previous Senate leaderships and expand it moving forward. Of course, I voted for Senator Tito as our new Senate President dahil sabi ko nga dati na akong bilib sa liderato niya, which is why I voted for him as Senate President in the opening of session last July and proudly joined him in the minority with him as our minority leader then. So I think these two things came together, Ms. Mikey, yung bilib ko at bilib naming lahat na bumoto para sa kanya, sa liderato niya, sa panahon ngayon, no, in the context of the institutional challenges that the Senate is facing outside our walls and even inside. So I'm more hopeful, even more hopeful now, be up to the task.
And there are conflicting accounts, Senator Risa. So we'll just ask you, was Senator Escudero forced out or did he step down voluntarily? And how important is that distinction now?
It's very important. So I'm glad I can share with you, Ms. Mikey, that former Senate President Chis Escudero was a real statesman until the last day of his term as our Senate President. He calmly received the news that enough of us ay gustong ihalal naman si Senate President Tito Soto bilang SP. And in what I think was a very important and even touching note to the transition yesterday, siya pa ang nag-administer ng oath of office kay ngayoy Senate President Tito Soto. So for me, this was one of our quieter but prouder moments as an institution to effect that kind of a transition. At salamat kay dating SP Cheese para doon.
Yeah, well said, Senator Risa. I also wanted to ask you, what did this have to do, the shakeup at the Senate leadership? What did it have to do with the flood control contractor donating 30 million pesos in 2022 to the campaign of Senator Escudero?
The whole question of a more open, transparent, and accountable budget process, plus the controversy now being heard in the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, sparked by the privileged speech of and now SP Pro Tempore Ping Lacson on the flood control projects. These are all the big waves or the big noises buffeting not only our whole country, but the Senate as an institution. And it's on the mind of every citizen at pati kaming mga senador na mamamayan din naman na this was the best thing to do at this time. This was the best time to do this to effect a Senate leadership transition na mas ibobolster yung kakayahan at pati yung perception sa Senado that we can face these issues squarely, bring good answers to the table, and then push the envelope moving forward na isa kami sa mga institusyon sa ating bayan which will step up to bring more transparent and accountable governance, cleaner and complete budget execution to our citizens, citizen taxpayers.
Yeah, definitely. Going to specifics, the PCIJ report shows that Center Waste Construction, a major flood control contractor, donated $30 million to Senator Escudero's campaign. From your perspective, ma'am, how dangerous is this overlap between government contracts and political financing?
With due process that must be assured to everyone who is mentioned in connection with any of these cases, it remains important, of course, eminently important to the Senate to put up the guardrails where they should be. Kung saan yung tamang mga harang between the state, the private sector, civil society, and how these three most important sectors of our society interact in important processes, whether these are budget making or project execution or investigation, such as is going on now in the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. So importante para sa amin that those lines remain clear and strong, never perceived to be blurred. Kasi kapag nangyari yon, all the more the Senate has to strive as one of the institutions na tasked to do this para i-restore yung confidence ng at yung trust no sa pagitan ng ating gobyerno at ng ating mga mamamayan.
Senator Hontiveros, you mentioned the Senate's Blue Ribbon Committee yesterday. Let's talk about the Diskaya testimony. DPWH contractors, the Diskayas, they now want to testify as state witnesses, possibly gaining immunity. They also admitted to giving 10 to 30% kickbacks to lawmakers and DPWH officials, but they presented no evidence beyond a signed affidavit. As trust is an issue, how much weight should the Senate give their testimony without any hard proof?
Oh, without any hard proof, if that's what it will look like, their affidavit until the end, then practically nothing. But an affidavit, a sworn affidavit, is still a potentially important first step. Ngayon, kailangan nilang backupan yan. Ms. Mikey, hindi pwedeng mag-aamin lang sila, maglalaglag lang ng ilang mga pangalan. They have to show the evidence or present corroborating witnesses to the revelations they made yesterday against each and every one of those named individuals. Kailangan din kumpletuhin nila yung istorya nila. I'm sure it didn't escape your attention that they spoke only of the periods 2022 until this year, 2025. What happened in 2016 to 2022? Kasi nauna nang inamin ni Sara Diskaya in an earlier hearing that they began receiving big national projects and therefore also buying their luxury vehicles, etc. in year 2016. So there's still a big gap. They have to pedal back to the years prior, 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much more that needs to be uncovered. This is really just the beginning. Senator Risa Hontiveros, the DOJ says that these stolen funds must be returned before the Diskayas can become state witnesses. What are your thoughts on this, on them even becoming state witnesses?
Well, they have to follow what DOJ just said. Ang may hawak sa Witness Protection Program is the Department of Justice. And gaya din ng sinabi ni Akbayan Representative Chel Joc, no, hindi pwedeng basta-basta na lang magiging state witness na iisang affidavit pa lang na hindi pa nga naka-back up ng evidence. So they have to show the goods, no, the evidence, the witnesses, and if DOJ says return the money, then return the money before they can avail of the privilege of becoming state witness. Usually pa nga, Ms. Mikey, state witness are the least guilty, are the most innocent. I don't even know if you can qualify them as least guilty by a long shot. But okay, if they fulfill the requirements of the DOJ, then DOJ will make that decision.
Correct. Well, it's a lot of funds to recoup before we even get
True.
to that point. The Diskaya couple named big names, including House Speaker Martin Romualdez and Representative Zaldico in connection with alleged insertions and unprogrammed funds for the flood control projects. Representative Ko is currently overseas receiving medical treatment. Senator, what's your reaction to these revelations?
Well, as we were talking about earlier, Ms. Mikey, due process demands that every person mentioned in any of these allegations also must, and they've started to reply, no, speak up for themselves. And moving forward, the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee will try to dig deeper into the truth or lack of it in the Discaya's revelations yesterday. And again, they have to back everything up with their evidence and any witnesses. But I guess what this shows us, Ms. Mikey, is that no one, not even or especially we who are in government, can escape scrutiny kapag ang mamamayan na ang nagtatanong. And I believe that's what we're seeing these days. Mga mamamayan, mga netizens, yung mga business organizations natin which have started to come out with a good number of statements this week. Civil society, lahat naniningil. Hindi lamang sa mga contractors, hindi lamang sa mga DPWH officials at employees, pero pati sa aming mga legislators because we hold the power of the purse. Kami ang gumagawa ng budget taon-taon. So if ever questioned or challenged, then we simply have to prove and to retain or regain the trust that indeed we are holding the people's money, the people's taxes, and spending them properly.
You know, fresh in the memory, fresh in recent memory, Senator Risa, is the pork barrel scam. For example, Janet Lim Napoles went to jail, but no lawmaker did. There is no, Janet Lim Napoles without any politicians. This time, are you confident that the Senate will pursue these cases fully, even if it means implicating powerful colleagues?
Well, the good thing also is that the Senate is not alone. Nandun yung TRICOM sa House of Representatives at nanawagan na dati pa si dating Minority Leader, ngayon Senate President Tito Soto at iba pa na magkaroon ng third or independent investigating body para mabuo, makumpleto nitong tatlo at least yung malaking puzzle. And recently, the President announced na magbubuo din nga daw siya ng ganyang klaseng independent investigative body. I think at this point in time, Ms. Mikey, this issue has been blown too wide open for any forcing everything back into the bottle and putting a stopper to it. Nakikita no, yung reaksyon ng ating mga kababayan, pati mga netizens. I think nothing will be sufficient and nothing will satisfy our constituents other than as thoroughgoing an investigation as possible. And then yes, kailangan, I think Senator Ping also said this, kailangan meron talagang maparusahan. Not just one, as before, not just as a few times before, but as many as possible na talagang mapatunayang culpable have to be tried in court, cases filed against them. And if found guilty, then they must also pay the price.
Yeah, okay. 15 senators signed to remove Senator Escudero, cutting across party lines. What does this broad coalition tell us about the shifting alliances at the Senate? And, pushing that envelope further, with the opposition now in control of the Senate, the stage is set for a possible impeachment trial against Vice President Sara Duterte in 2026. How does the shift in Senate majority change the landscape for that case?
Of course, an impeachment process remains one of the four main tasks that the Senate as an institution may take up from one time to another. Pero yung current impeachment complaint against VP Sara is not only archived in the Senate, pero dumadaan pa sa pag-consider ng Korte Suprema ng motions for reconsideration. So, if and only if and when the Supreme Court reverses itself and gives way to the motions for reconsideration, then and only then na pwede naming debatihin ulit sa Senado at kung kaya makakuha ng majority vote to remove it from the archives to which our colleagues consigned it before. Dun lang kami makaka-move forward if ever on that. And it's similar to our other work right now. Important kasi may kinalaman sa transparency and lalo na accountability. Sorry, I missed the first two parts of your question. The first part about
Shifting alliances.
Dito sa Senado. I would actually be glad if it were a bit harder because to mean that mas nagkakaroon tayo ng political party system, but it was important as you observed na marami sa amin mula sa iba't ibang mga partido came together with that desire to support the leadership of former Minority Leader Tito Soto as our new Senate President, with all the potential and hope it represents to move forward collectively as an institution.
Yeah.
And the middle part of your question, Ms. Mikey?
That was okay. You covered it
Yeah.
already, but there's one more question before we let you go. We're
Okay.
kind of out of time. As the country looks for credible leaders to restore trust in our institutions, many are wondering if you'll be running for president in 2028. Is that a possibility that you're considering?
The certainty is that I'm working to unify the opposition and for us to come up to agree on a process of selecting our standard bearer and full slate. So President, Vice President, full Senate slate, as many district and party list reps as we can run, and as many local government officials as we can run within the ambit of the opposition. Yung pala, I won't presume to speak for everyone in the new majority that each and everyone considers himself or herself majority. Opposition. Pero ako, Ms. Mikey, I'll continue to work on strengthening the opposition. And kung sino man sa amin ang magiging standard bearer, we're all open to that. Pero kung sino man sa amin ang magiging standard bearer, basta para sa akin, we will be united at that time.
All the best to you and your colleagues at
so
the
much.
Senate, Senator Risa Hontiveros.